ये बंद कर देना बेटा जरा कांच का ना. Okay guys, let's get started. There is some piping work going on, so you might see plumbing disturbance, but that should be okay. So today we wanted to discuss, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So today I'll talk about basic I/O. I/O means input output. How do we open a file, read a file, and possibly write into a file as well. There are a lot more details, but I'll basically talk about basics part of it. Okay. So first look at what really our computer system really means. And if you look at yeah, we have basically CPU, main machine, then we have the main memory which is called RAM, where our program other things run. Then we have what is called secondary storage or secondary memory. That is what we call our hard disk or USB drive or whatever you want to call it. And then we have the IO devices which are connected. This could be your keyboard, this could be your display, this could be your printer or your any other IO device, whatever you connect, those are called IO devices. So today we are focusing on mostly dealing with once you have file onto the secondary file system or file onto the hard disk, how do we open access? That's what we'll focus on this discussion. So there are two kind of files. One is called text file and other is called binary file. There are primarily two categorizations. Text file means what you can read in a simple text editor like your notepad. But anything you read in, let's say MS Word or Excel or something, which you can't read in notepad, those are comes into category of binary files. All your images, your videos, your multimedia files, anything you do, voice recording, audio clips, they are all part of our binary files. All the computer program which you write, which are readable in text editor, or a normal open a notepad, write a short note, those are called ASCII files. That means simple character, there are no control characters which editor can read. Essentially, text file means anything which is printable character. And that is what stands for. ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange, a different kind of encodings, but most of the time, all the computers basically by default use we call is ASCII encoding. So we look at, and these files, like all the programs we wrote, each consists of number of lines. We have a number of text lines, and each line is separated by the other line by what we call is a Newline character. Because somewhere when you display in the editor, you should know what is a Newline character, I mean, how the one line is different from other, so that editor can display onto the next line. Depending on the system you are using, this line separator could be different. Most of the Unix machines or Mac, they use character called Newline /n we represent. In Windows Word, they're separated by two characters called carriage return and line feed. Newline is also known as line feed. I'm not going to too many details. You need to get the details of what ASCII encoding is. And want to look at ASCII encoding, you can basically go to ASCIItable.com. Let me see if I can show you that. So you can see this. There's a line fit character LF. I don't know how many can you see that. You open image in a new tab. So you can see this line where cursor is LF, is code A. This is called new line feed, or you have carriage return CR, which is 13. So, and all other printable characters like your 0 is basically 30, 1 is 31. If you look at ASCII characters, capital A happens to be hex 41 or decimal 65, and so on, so forth. So anything which are primarily in this range, which you can read by human eye, this is what a normal text editor would be. And text editor does not really take care of this control characters initially. And this is what I mean by the ASCII, so the text files. So when I'm talking today, we are limiting ourselves to reading and writing only the text files contains, which basically corresponds to as a text editor can use them. So let's look at when you deal with a file, what are the operations we can perform? Either we can create a new file, or we can remove an existing file, or we can read data from the given file, or we can write into the file. If file already exists, we like to add at the end. Sometimes you want to modify, like you when you edit a program, you change your line, that becomes modify a file. Seek meanings you go to the beginning of the file, end of the file, middle of the file, anywhere in the file. So these are the basic operations you perform when you're dealing with a file. So in our case, we'll primarily when dealing with file IO, we'll basically limiting ourselves to read, write. That's all you mostly confined to today. But other operations you can do, you can read the documentation, plan it out. But our focus would be just do a reading from the file, and then can we write into the file. Simple example would be I read from file 1, read from file 1 and write into file 2, which is what we call copy. So we'll see how can you implement a copy program, or how system does a copy program. We'll basically look into that part. So what we do is open a file. Python gives you an API, built-in API, which is called open. And to the open, you give your file name, whichever file you want to open. By default, you always open the file for read only, that you can only read, you cannot write into it. But you want to give a different mode, like you want to append to at the end, or you want to write into the content, then there are different modes, and those modes are given as R. If you don't give R, like remember yesterday we said default arguments. If you don't specify mode, the default value is R, file will be open in read mode. Or you can specify W, you can specify append, and there are other modes. I'll not get into those details. Read plus, write plus, append plus, something of that kind. But if you're dealing with a binary file like your image or something, you specify read binary, B for binary, write binary, something. But in our discussion today, we'll focus only on read mode and the write mode, mostly on the read mode, and nothing else. So what is when you open a file, it returns what we call is a file handle, which is basically a variable like any variable you deal with. So it is a handle to the file. So anytime I want to do any file operation, this is my handle to tell the OS, look, I want to read, I want to write. So it's a variable with some file name and details, what mode we are open, something of that kind. If I just open a file, let's say student.txt, this is my file. I open it, gives me handle. I cannot do print fh because it will give you value of the handle, but nothing more than that. I need to do operations using file handle. I'll say read a line or read the whole file or write into a line. So fh will have number of support, and we look at those. Let me just try to show if I can show you. Look, I have a file student.txt which has these contents. I say Python. I say fh is equal to open, but the name has to be in a string. And I'm not giving a mode, that means by default it is read mode. If I say print fh, it will give me what fh handle is. It says it basically file name is student talks. Here open the read mode, but doesn't give me content. But we are more interested in reading from this file right into the file. We'll use this handle to do our work. And let's say, how do we proceed and doing our work? So we know our input file. If we look at our input file, it has a name, comma, flat number, name, comma, flat number. So we have basically about, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have about 11 lines into this file. And if you really want to see how it is where the Newline character comes, so always at the end of the first line, you always have a Newline character. Here we have Newline character, and this is what you'll see at the end when you read, you'll always get the Newline character there as well. And once I run it, I'll try to show you that part as well. Now, so what we'll do is, how does Newline character work? Like, so in a string, we specify as \n. If I do print, it will print in 2 lines. So let me show that as well. Let's say Python, I say x is equal to, sorry. If I say print x, you'll see Python in 1 line and programming would be another line. If I were to say x is equal to, let's say, learning Python programming, so learning will appear in first line, Python in second line, and programming is in third line. So let's say I do that, I say print x, get learning Python. Remember this space before programming is coming because after new line I have 1 space here. So similarly, so Newline always puts into different lines in a string. And that is what the role of Newline character is. So I can iterate over, if I want to read all the lines, I open this file, I got the handle, and then I would say for line in fh. So when you do handle, when you do iterate over it, it works like a list, and I can iterate over each element of the list. So each line I get the line, I can say print line and will print me a line. So let me just show how will that work. I am here. Remember this is my line. I say Python fh is equal to open student.txt. By default read mode, so I'm not doing that. I say for line is a variable name in fh. It works like this. Fh, when you read that, it is iterable. I can say print line. And you see lines my printed. Now look what is happening here. My original file, if you look at, there is no empty line. Original file I have 1 line after the another. There is no empty line. But when I write this program, I get 1 empty line here. Any thoughts? Anybody would like to comment why that is happening? I'm getting a line from the list and just printing it. Why it is displaying me 1 empty line after each line, even though my original file has no empty line? Any thoughts anywhere? No, why does it happen?
Maybe while printing, there's some default argument which has separation as a new line character.
Yeah, so when you print, remember, let's look at this here. let's say, what? Huh? You can put the earphone. Na? So let's say I say print 10 colon print 20 colon print 30. हाँ तो तुम earphone लगाओ ना. So you see, print always, when you do that, by default, print prints the content and goes to the next line. So it print always adds a new line on its own. Now let's look at our program. Our original file, these lines had a new line at the end, which is not visible. Text file always have that. So when I'm doing a print, this line already contains one new line character, and print is adding one more new line character. And because of two line characters, you got a one new line, and because print is adding one, you get an empty line. Huh? So they can go that side. Just 1 minute. Hold on a minute. That's okay, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, guys, sorry. So understood? Because one new line is already as part of the line, and print is adding one more new line, and that's the reason you get one empty line in between. When I do two new lines, that's what happens. For example, let's say if I were to do print, let's say variable x is equal to, let's say, AA, new line, BB, new line, CC. Now if I say print x, you will see AA followed by one empty line, BB and CC, because I have two new lines. So in my program, line contains this new line, and print is adding one more line, new line, and that's the reason you get this stuff here. So how do we deal with such a case? Normally what we do is, Python provides what is called a strip operation, which I'll come to there later. But let's say I just want to count how many lines are there. So look what I'm doing here. I open the file. I start with a count of 0. For each line I read, I'm doing count is equal to +1, and then printing number of lines in the file. You can also do a read line operation, which are not written there. So let's say I go back there. So I say fh is equal to open I can say line is equal to fh dot read line. It will give me the first line. If you say print line, it will give me the first line. If I do again fh dot read line, it will give me the next line. If I do it again,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
Sir, I don't understand. How did you get the one line splits?
See, look what is happening. Okay. You see that each of the line is separated by a new line because the things are coming after the new line.
Yes, sir. I see
Okay.
that.
So there is a one new line between each line, the character there. How does editor or some system know that this has to go next line? So there's
Yes, sir.
always a new line at the end. So if there's a program that's available in Linux, maybe on Windows, I can say od -c. It may not be there with you, but I'm just showing you. If you look at Abhiram Rustagi, and there's a new line character there. then you have Abhiraj, then there's a Newline character there. So file always contains a Newline character, a text
Yes, sir.
file. Okay. Now what is happening when I do a line? This line already contains a Newline character. Okay. And if you look at the print, also adds new line at the end. So there's a new line in the line itself, and then print is also adding a new line. That's the reason you got one empty line there. But if I were to print, let's say, print line, see this is a string 0 colon, let's say -2, because minus will give me new line. I'm not printing my new line, so this will not give me empty line. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake there. If I were to say -1, that means last character also, which is new line, you will see what happened. Oh, -1 is not included. Okay. So if I do this, you'll get one empty line. If I do 0 colon -1, my till end, but not the last character, which is the new line, it will print 1. If I were to print -2, this 6 would not be printed, you'll see 3 0. Because line contains new line character as well. And when you do a print also adds a new line by default. That's the reason when I say this, you get one empty line. Is that okay now?
Yes, sir. Understood. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, but we don't want this line to be displayed. So what do? There's this operation support available, which is called write strip. Means any white space characters like spaces or new line or something, it will simply remove those and then give you a line. So if in my program I were to do line is equal to line dot r strip, it will remove that new line character, create a new string, and new string assigned to line. Now when I say print line, it will not give me a new line now. I say again fs dot line is equal to, let's say, x is equal to fs dot read line. It will read the next line. If I say print x, I'll get the one extra character. But if I say print x dot r strip, I will not get the new character. Is that okay now? Anuj, Aruna, Srijana?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine, sir.
Okay. Now, like in a string, you can search if anything starts with A. So I'm interested in finding, are there any lines that starts with A? What I'm doing here is I read a line or line in FH. The line dot starts with A, only then print, not otherwise. So I should be actually doing line dot strip. So this is what I can do with, I can write a simple program here. So let's see if I can write a simple program. We already have that here. Let me come back. You can write your own program, that should be fine. If line dot starts with A, if line dot starts with A, I would say print line dot r strip. Remove these white spaces at the end. And then you see it will give me, so look what is my file contains here. Abhiram, Abhiraj, Anuj, Aditya. So I should see these 4 lines getting printed. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and not anything else. Or I can search anything. If I want to look at anything that is in I block, I can put it or anything in F block or D block, so I can modify my program. So let's say open a line in H. Rather than saying, I can say in operations called member say if D dash, the D block is there in line, then print the line, which I'll say print line.r strip. So it will print all those lines which has D dash, this is 1, and as Sundar, I should see only these two lines. One is Srijna Nilavar, other should be as Sundar. Other has, nobody has D dash anywhere. That is what I should be getting. So depending on what you want to print, you can do for searching, starts with, ends with. If you find substring, it's basically string operation. Whatever string operation you want to do, you can verify those and do that part. Okay? Any questions? Reset?
No question.
Okay. Let's say it doesn't start with A, you can basically, yesterday I talked about using something called a pass. So I want to print only those lines that don't start with A, but my function available starts with, so I see line starts with A, pass means do nothing. Else print this line. So it will print all those lines which does not start with A. So if it starts with A, you don't want to do anything, just continue next. Pass means go to the next operation. So if it is line starts with A, go to next one, do nothing, else print. So this is the useful case of pass, because your only function available start with, and then you can deal with it. Same way, I can do next one, searching for a text, which I said, if pattern is Abhi, I say pattern is in line. That means Abhi is in the line, it will print only those lines. And in this case, if you look at my file has 2, 1 Abhiram, 1 Abhiraj, it will print only those two lines and nothing. Let's say you also want to read from terminal console. So I'm doing IO, so do an input. If you do an input, it waits for you to specify something, press return, but input doesn't give you return as part of the character. It filters it out. You want to specify something, say enter your name something, then it will read and give you a name. So this is for IO, print is outputting. But if you want to do formatted printing, like by default, if I do that, the print, you see displaying so many decimals. I don't want to display more than 3 decimal places. And that is what I call formatted printing. And so I can basically say percentage 3D means up to 3 decimal digits divided by 3 decimal digits. I'm saying this is the first parameter, this is my second parameter. So anytime you specify with percentage part, this becomes position and it will give respective arguments there. This percentage is third parameter saying total is 6 maximum and only 3 decimal places there. And this is called percentage operator. And since there 1, if you look at this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, I should have 3 operators there. What we'll do is this 1 would come under this. This is parameter number 2 would come here, and this 1 by 3 come here. And I said at the most 3 decimal places 0.3 and maximum 6. So I'll basically see value 1, output would be 1 by 3 is equal to 0.333. So I can probably show that. I can say print percentage 3D divided by percentage 3D equal to percentage 6.3F. So my format string is over. And what are my arguments? That I have to specify in parentheses. Let's say 1, 3, 1 by 3. and you'll see 1 by 3 is equal to this. Because I'm giving him at least 3 decimal places. If I do the same thing here, because my values are only 1 decimal place, I can give 1 and then 6. No, since I'm saying 6, total 6 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So minimum 6, you have to specify how much you want to do that. Now, if I were to do the following, what my output be? Any guesses? D is for digits without decimals. So if I convert 1 by 3 into digits without decimals, the D for integer operation, integer number, you'll basically see 1 by 3 is equal to 0. There's no decimal. I have 6 decimal places, so the 6 places. So we have to be very, very careful what you're trying to do. So let's say I will to do F. Let's say I do something like 10 by 30, and then you see. So this is the, it says you have to certainly use this much space, but if argument takes more, it will take that much. But %1 means that much space certainly would be used. But 10 needs two letters, using 2. If I were to do only 1, or let's say if I were to do this, it will say 1 by 30 is equal to 0.03. Sorry, it should be. So is the use clear of these formatted outputs? The one way to format. You specify the format string, divide by the percentage modular operator, and all the parameters, whatever specified. If you don't have all the parameters, it's going to give you error. So let's say I have to do this, and I don't give you, I give only 2. It's going to give me error missing something, not on argument. There is another way to specify formatting. I can say format string as placeholder. Sorry. When I say curly braces, this means first placeholder, 0 means first placeholder, 1 means second argument, and 2 means third argument. If I were to change this, say third argument, first argument, and second argument, appropriate will take arguments from here. Like my output, I'm saying, so my placeholders, dot format, and my 3 parameters. So my parameter index 0, parameter index 1, parameter index 2. Now I'm saying this is 2 means index parameter index number 2, which is third parameter, and this is parameter index 0, which is my first parameter, and parameter index 1, which is my second parameter. It will print like that. And that means, so if you want to shuffle, like in this case, here it is a fixed order, has to be the same way. But I want to shuffle the order. The mechanism is called doing the placeholders. You specify which parameter comes where. So parameter number 2, which is third, parameter index 2, which is third parameter, you can specify that and things will work out. And if you need to specify the formatting mechanism as well, then you can say that third parameter index 2 and format type is 6.38. And this is what it will do and display that. So let me just show you this, should be able to do that part as well. So let's say print, I would say double quote, my placeholder 2, colon, let's say 5.2f. I want to display only 2 decimal places. And then I'm saying is equal to first parameter divided by second parameter. My format string is over. This is my format string. And then I say dot format, that I need to follow this format. But my parameters are 1, 3, 1 by 3. So look at 1 by 3 is my second parameter. So it will give parameter number 2. It will display this is equal to 1 by 3. That's what you'll see. Oh, sorry, I think I missed something. Yeah. this parenthesis for this, and this is for this print. That was a mistake. You see, that is what I get. 0.33, I'm getting the third argument coming because of this. If I want to change my run order as per my want, I can do formatted printing like this. Any questions on this? So either you can do simple formatted printing, or if you want to reshuffle the argument based on you can basically do with the placeholder. Any questions here? If no, I'll move forward.
No, sir.
Other is you can get from command line arguments. Want to run through, don't want to say enter something. So system provides a module called sys. Sys.argv is basically list of arguments all in ASCII, and sys.argc is a count of parameters. So I want to run a program called add two numbers. So adding two numbers, say import sys module. I want to make sure the argument has three parameters. First is the program name. So program name, let's say program name is add.py, and then say add two numbers 2, 3. Answer should be 5. So this will be treated as argv0 because list. This is treated as argv1, and this would be treated as argv2. So total arguments are 3 because this size is 3, 1, 2, and 3. So if this is not 3, exit. So get the first parameter because everything always has a string. I'm converting into int. Second parameter, I convert into int. How do I run this program? I can run this, invoke the program add.py. So let me show you how do I run this. Sorry. I can say import sys. I'll skip the checking part. I would say first is equal to sys.argv1, and this has to be integer. I would say second is equal to int sys.argv2, and then I can say sum is equal to first plus second print sum. I'll save this program as file save as let's say add.py. So program is saved as add.py here. If we look at this is the program. If I run it, Python add.py, first argument is 3, second argument is 6, it should give me 9. If I were to say 30, 61, it should. So I'm done to say enter first parameter, enter second parameter, it becomes a lot more easier. So my normal recommendation is don't use enter to specify, always use the import sys module and sys.argv part so that specify command line, it becomes a lot more easier for you to carry on. Okay? Any questions here?
No, sir.
No. Last is you want to write into a file, let's say copying. So I'll give source file name as first argument. My destination file on which I want to copy is second argument. So I'm saying open file, source file, open destination file. Since I want to write into destination file, I'm opening in a write mode. Now what I'm doing for line in source file, read the line which gets me this. My destination handle is FSD. I do a write line and increment the count. Now I run this program, it will basically get copied that many lines. So let me say I'll just show you this program there. So I open first file. I could have also specified comma read if I wanted to, but that is default, so choice is yours. I'm reading from one file, writing into another, and I'm saying how many lines I copied and creates a new file. So let's say this. Look at the program copy file.py. It is this program what I see it. import sys, get the source file name, get the destination file name, get open first file, open that, but this has to be opened with the right mode. And I want to count how many lines are there. For each line is source file, I write into destination file, increment the count. This indicates count is equal to count plus 1. And you see this kind of symbol plus equal to, that means that this basically means CNT is equal to CNT plus 1. Whatever that sign is treated that to place, and then I copy it. So let me run this program. Let's say Python. I want to copy student.txt to my file.txt. What happened? Oh, I need to specify file name, program name. Okay. Now you see, yeah. 1 minute. What happened? Oh, yeah, some junk has come in. Let me remove this, not asking. This is fine. So if I were to type Python, copy file.py, student.text, the first argument, and second argument is, let's say, abc.txt. Something has gone wrong. Oh, my file has been modified. 1 minute. I was doing something that got modified. That's the problem. Sorry. That's the reason giving me error. So copy to level 9. So if you go look at more abc.txt, you get everything there. This is why you copy files. And if you look at more student.txt, so this is the one way of copying a source file. You want to copy selectively only those lines which contain starts with A, or only for I block. Let's say given a list of all residents with different blocks, you want to filter, you can write a program and filter it out. All you need to do is, while writing, you check here if B block or A block or something can create different files and be done with. That's how you can basically write a file. With that, I am basically done. Any questions on the writing part? You need to practice it, done with it.
Sir, is ARGV argument?
Repeat again.
Is ARGV an argument?
Yeah, argument. It's called argument vector, basically. ARGV. It stands for argument vector.
So then what is CNT?
Now I'm defining a variable CNT count how many lines. It's my variable.
Oh,
I want to keep incrementing each time I read a line to know how many lines are there. It could be any variable. It could be any variable. I could say x is equal to 0 and say x is equal to x plus 1. It would be same. Okay?
yes, sir.
Fine. So first exercise is print tables 1 to 9, IO. So output right into a file, display that. So 1 into 1, 1. So to do formatted output and display the tables like this. Simple exercise. Basically, write tables into a file and then display them. The question is, rather than print tables, write 1 to 9 tables into some file of whatever you want to do. Second exercise is, given text file, count how many characters are there, like the file student.txt, create your own file, each having different lines, and for each line display how many characters are there in each line. And that's the exercise basically I've got. And then I would recommend you to follow up other one, past exercises. If you still have issues, let me know. I'll try to send that out. That's all for today. Any questions? Close it. If no more questions, let me know. Then we can close this session.
Sir, I have a doubt in
Yeah, go ahead.
format printing.
Okay, let me go
Can you
back.
go to that slide, please?
Yeah,
No, the previous slide.
yeah, this
Yeah, here. Stop. Yeah. So, sir, in the last statement where you have
Yeah.
given print
Yeah.
to :6,
Yeah.
what does the 6 signify there?
Okay, 6 means when output comes in,
Yeah.
minimum that many characters should be printed.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. And then what about the 3F?
3 means decimal places, 3 decimal places, but at least 6 characters.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Like I'm doing 3D. I'm saying at least 3 characters.
Yeah.
Now I'm printing 1, it has only 1 character. So it's going to print to 2 spaces.
Oh. Okay.
So, in the last line, if it was 6.3D, what would be the output?
Now, if it is, say you are saying if this is 6.3D, D stands for
Yeah.
integer numbers. Okay. You are saying 1/3 second argument value is 0.3333 up to something. When I convert to integer, it becomes 0. So 6.3D, no decimal places. You'll basically get 6 characters, 3 zeros, and that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question? Try it out. Do
No,
some
sir.
formatting. There are a lot more formatted. I have not done that because that. So go to Python documentation. You have a F, B. You want to print in hexadecimal mode. You want to print in binary mode. There are all different kind of formattings. Okay. So read the Python documentation. So format print, you understand what it means. There are about 10 options in the different modes there. F, B, X, different kind of things. Octal and all that. Any other question? Aruna?
No, sir. No questions.
Risit?
No, no questions.
Suzma?
No questions, sir.
Okay, so try doing the exercises. Our next class would be on Monday. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.